Okay, now this part is where you want to learn about pattern recognition, which means that there are certain patterns that's unique, that's always repeating itself, and you can actually capitalize on those. Okay, so what is pattern recognition is you need to understand that we are not developing new patterns. We are just spotting what are the patterns that repeat itself over and over again in the market. And then when we spot it again, we know that there's a very high chance when we see this pattern, what's going to happen next. Okay, that's all that we are doing itself. Okay, so what you need to do is, impulses has no pattern. It's just one strong momentum up or one strong momentum down. There's nothing for you to identify. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to learn and identify corrective patterns. Okay, which means that when the market is correcting, is going nowhere, that is the phase that you want to start identifying. What pattern is it forming? Okay, so once you are able to do that, okay, you can catch the next impulse move. Alright, so there's something that I always share, that when you want to trade closest to the end of a corrective phase, and you want to ride the impulse phase. Okay, because if you imagine today you enter a trade and the market goes nowhere, then you'll be very affected emotionally. Because one day up, one day down, or 1 hour up, 1 hour down, and then it's just going nowhere. Okay? But impulses, when you enter the trade and you're able to ride on the impulse, it becomes a psychologically very easy trade for you to just hold and take. Okay, so pattern recognition, the rule is for you to identify what pattern is forming, and then from there, you want to spot when it's likely going to end and enter on the trade. Okay, now, these are the list of patterns, okay, that is very common. Okay, now you realize there's no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, because that is not really a pattern recognition exercise, it's just labeling. Okay, but this part here, pattern recognition, actually in Elliott wave, if you go and study and understand it deeper, right, there's a lot of overlap between your traditional patterns, technical patterns, and actually labeling of Elliott wave. Okay, now I'll just give you some example. If today you have been trading technical, you know what is wedges. You all know? Ascending wedge, descending wedge. It's a very traditional technical pattern. In Elliott wave, they call it diagonal. Okay, visually how they look like, right? Similar one. Okay, it's just that in Elliott wave, we put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for diagonal. Okay, but wedge, during a traditional technical analysis, there's no label. There's no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so flags or flats. Okay, in Elliott wave, we have 3 types: regular, running, and expanding. These are where you might sometimes see your classical double top, double bottom. Sometimes running or expanding flat, it will be like your fake breakout. Okay, so I want you to just take away that conception that Elliott wave pattern is like the entire new things that I need to learn. No, because if today you are familiar with technical patterns, this segment, very clear cut one. Okay, so this part here, this 5 patterns, okay, I've actually put it inside your notes as well to assist you in following me. Okay, so let's talk about the first type. Whether is it an ABC or is it a channel, the visual look of it is like that. Okay, so the visual of a channel looks like this. Okay, the differentiation where people put in their labeling is just calling this A, B, C. That's it. Okay, so I want you to see that today, even if I don't label, your decision on making a directional trade will be the same as long as you can recognize these Elliott wave patterns. Can Okay, so this is how a channel look like. Okay, of course the answer is in your notes, alright? But let's say, based on this setup, this pattern forming, can you all see where will be the next high probability direction? Up or down? Down. If you take away Elliott wave, just look at this pattern. What pattern is it? Down. Flat, right? So technical pattern is up or down? Alright. Good. Your flat pole, your flat, and then another pole. Okay, so in Elliott wave, is almost similar. Only that we don't study the flagpole. Because it's an impulse, there's no pattern for you to identify. It's a very clear-cut one. Okay? But this part here is where you want to study that pattern. Okay? But first, before you study where the pattern is going to terminate, you need to first identify, now this is your channel pattern. Clear? Okay, so the next move is slightly up. Okay? If you flip it, this is another pattern. Channel. Just the opposite direction. Okay? So the difference in it is Elliott wave traders just put A, B, C. Okay? But if you are able to visually identify those patterns, you realize I don't need to put the A, B, C because now I can also see the A, B, C. Okay? So I want you to see that ABC and channels, they are same. Okay, so later we have exercise for you to identify all these patterns. Okay, so I want you to visually now take in, at this short period of time, remember how they look like. Okay, so it's like installing these patterns into your library, so that when you need them, you can pull it out and use. Okay, so channel, it looks like that, Wedges or diagonal. Okay, so just now during the exercise, when you draw structure, okay, you are already able to see some of this when you are drawing those structures, alright? These are also patterns that is forming. Okay, now, if you look at this pattern, okay, think of it as price movement, right? A lot of momentum, and then now no momentum. What will likely happen next? Fall down, because it's losing its momentum, right? So the next high probability direction is to the downside. Okay, so when you see this pattern over and over again, okay, you know what is the next high probability move that's going to happen in the market, right? Which is this. Okay, you realize that at the end of every pattern, the next move is impulse. Okay, that is the key that you need to catch as trading the wave. Can I? Now, if I flip it the opposite, this is a falling wedge, or what some traders call it, this descending wedge. Okay, Elliott wave traders call it ending diagonal. Okay, all good. So what does Elliott wave traders put in? Label, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same thing. Okay, so today I want you to see that you don't need label. Again, I keep repeating this. You don't need to label, but the key is recognize the pattern. Okay, once you're able to recognize it, putting it that count is redundant. If you want, it makes it nicer, it makes it, wow, very cheap. But then, same value that you're going to use for trading. All good, right? Same concept, momentum very strong, is losing momentum. What's likely going to happen next? Up. Okay, so you can see that reverse is again an impulse move. Okay, so every end of a corrective patterns, all these patterns that you are familiarizing yourself with, at the end of it, you catch an impulse move. Okay, so that is the key, Flag. Okay, now, flag here is the most complicated pattern of all. Why? Because it has variations of field. You have your running flag, you have your regular flag, then you have what we call an expanding flag. Okay, now, the slight difference is, did it poke above or below? That's it. Okay, so now if you look at this flag, is it like flat? Flat, right? There's no like, oh, fake break, top or bottom. Don't have. Okay, so this kind of flag is what we call a regular flag. Okay, a regular one. Okay, but same psychology in understanding price, a very strong momentum, and then it pauses. Okay, there is no definite answer, but in terms of probability, is it higher going up or is it higher in terms of coming down? Going up now. Okay, so same concept. When you see this pattern, you know that the higher probability direction is to the upside. Alright, so same thing, it's impulse. That's the key that you want to catch. Okay, if I flip it, yes, it's still a flat, but can you see that slight difference between this and just now that one? Very good. So this is expanding. Because if today you put two horizontal lines, you realize it pokes through the top, it pokes through the bottom. Okay, so this in wave, we call it expanding flag. Okay, same thing, people label it just by putting A, B, C. Okay, but if you're able to identify this pattern, it's the same. Okay, this is also a flag. Okay, now, when you see this, what is the high probability direction next? Same now, right? Concept is very strong momentum. It starts to pause a while. The higher probability is due to the downside. Okay, so you can see it's also an impulse move. Okay, now, if you are sharp enough, between these two flags, there is one common feature. Anyone can spot? Between this one, okay, and this one, what is the common feature of the flag? The difference is one is regular, right? One is expanding. But what is the common thing? What thing is common? Okay, I walk you through. A move up, a move down, a move up, a move down, a move up. Okay, if I go to the next one, a move down, a move up, a move down, a move up, and then a move down. What is the common thing that these two flags have? Moving up and down, exactly. Okay, but that part of moving up and down is crucial. Hey, don't laugh. You might not see it, but now you saw it. Okay, it's one down, one up, one down. How many times? 3 times, and then what it does? Go up. Okay, if you look at this, come down already, one up, one down, one up. How many times? 3 times, and then it goes down. A simple thing that is similar in both, but you all cannot see it. Okay, so what does this imply to you is this, in a flat, okay, minimum width for 3 touch. 1, 2, 3. Okay, same thing over here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now if you don't have this 3 touch, you realize you cannot draw structure. Because you don't have 2 points on top, you don't have 2 points below one. Okay, same thing for this. If you don't have 3 move, 1, 2, 3, you can't draw your up structure, you can't draw a bottom structure.
Can you just continue 1, 2, 3, 4?
Can. But this is one piece, right? Can this piece duplicate itself another time? Can. But now you understand this piece. So when it happens again, you'll be able to see, hey, it's a replica of another piece going. So it can be one piece, one piece, one piece, 3 pieces coming together, and then only drops. Can. Okay, in fact, if you look at your... Okay, let me just take one example. Okay, if you look at this whole segment, you realize is actually a big corrective move. Can you see this is actually a big channel? Okay, these are all corrective move, right? Channel ABC is one of it. Okay, within this, can you see there's one, there's another one, same thing. Okay, but you realize that you now can spot patterns within it. This is what later we'll touch on a little bit more in fractal confirmation. Okay, so I want you to now be able to recognize patterns as puzzle piece. Okay, so now you have your channel, ABC, whether it's coming down, going up. Then you have your wedge or diagonal going up or coming down, and then you have this flag. Okay, now, this one, same thing, you see 1, 2, 3, right? But what is the difference between this flag, and this flag? Okay, this one, it goes horizontal, right? This one, it goes expanding. This one? Alright. Slanting down lah. Okay? So this is the slight difference. This one in wave, we call it running flat. Okay? So in this 3 simple flat, you actually now saw a regular one, an expanding one, and a running one. Okay? The most difficult one for you to identify while it's still forming is a running flat. Okay? In other words, it becomes very difficult for you to catch the next impulse if the correction is going to be a running flat. Okay, but don't worry, because the idea is if you cannot identify while it's doing it, then let this go. Not clear. Okay, so what is likely going to happen is impulse. Then you see it's forming another pattern. Okay, and then after that, same thing. It's an impulse move. Okay, so this is the category of a flat. Okay, so you see this in your chart. Okay. Okay, now this pattern next is very common. It's called double top or double bottom. Okay, I think this shouldn't be foreign to any of you now. Okay, the difference between when is it going to be a flat or flat and when is it going to be a double top bottom is the position of where this pattern happened. Okay, so you realize that this one looks very similar to a flat. Also 1, 2, 3, right? But you realize that this flex always happen after a fall in the middle of the chart. Okay? But your double top and bottom, though that correction there looks the same, but these patterns happen at the very top or at the very bottom. That's why it's called double top, double bottom. Okay, so this is a very simple one, 2 tops, and then this is what you all call neckline. Okay, then after that, a fall. Okay, and then I want you to see that what you see here is what pattern? This one. Okay, so I want you to see this fall. It comes up, it comes down, it goes up. It's a flat. Okay, it's a flat, Okay, now this is a double bottom. It's just the flip of the double top, So you got 2 bottom, 1 neckline, and then it happens next. Okay, so again, what is this? It's a flat. Okay, so this one I think don't need to spend too much time. Double top, double bottom, almost everyone is clear with it. Okay, head and shoulder. Again, a very classical one. Okay, but how do you then now incorporate the head and shoulder patterns into Elliott wave? Okay, now head and shoulder, we all know the technical pattern is a reversal pattern, which means this is the top and it's going to go down. Okay, so in Elliott wave, usually your left shoulder over here is your third wave, your fourth wave, your fifth wave. And then this is your start 1 and 2. Okay, so I want you to see that these patterns actually are very similar to wave theory. It's just that one, we label it differently. The other, we just put it as head and shoulder. Okay, but I want you to now recognize the pattern instead of putting that labeling in. Alright, so same thing. This one likely is going to fall. Okay, now what you realize is while this shoulder is forming, what corrective pattern are you seeing? This right side. Okay, 1, 2, 3, right? So it's a flat pattern. Okay, so I want you to be able to now very clearly can see a pattern is forming. This is what pattern. That part, what's the pattern forming? Okay, this is inverse head and shoulder. Okay, same thing. The next move is an impulse. Okay, so double top, double bottom, head and shoulder patterns. I think most of you are very familiar with it, Okay, I think the next part in your slide is exercise. Okay, I want to give you some time to draw in the patterns you recognize on the blank chart. Okay, so it looks like that. I want you to spot all patterns you can see on this chart. Okay, draw the structure in also. Okay, to help you identify what pattern is forming, right? And then if you can, just write down what pattern is it. Okay, the step that we are doing now is to get you familiarized with all this pattern first. Okay, then when we do market forecast later, while these patterns are developing, you'll be able to identify, hey, this one is this pattern doing. Okay? Okay, give you a hint, there's 2 patterns here. Shouldn't be difficult, Okay, can see this too? Oh, very clear cut, right? So this one here is a flat. This one here is a running flat. Okay, the characteristics is there's 3 touch. Okay, next one. Spot the pattern within this move. Okay, I want you to also imagine how price is moving upwards very strong. And then what you realize that it's still going up but lesser momentum. Alright, so that psychology behind how price has moved, what kind of pattern is giving you? Yeah, a wedge, right? Right? Sometimes a wedge might look slightly different because most of the time the wedge we have in mind is the top is shrinking. Okay, but I want you to understand that there are sometimes the wedge almost like parallel. Okay, that means the slope of these 2 lines are the same, but what you realize is it's still losing momentum. Okay, in other words, the high probability direction is still down. Okay, so this one is a wedge. Okay, this one. Now this one, there's one that is already done, one is forming. Okay, so the easier one, of course, is to identify the pattern that's already done over here. Okay, done means the impulse has already been moved. It has shown you the clarity of the pattern done. Forming means the pattern is still in progress of developing. Okay, so you have that library of patterns that we covered, right? Which one can match that piece over here? That is how you apply which pattern is forming. Okay, so that's why I say it's not something that today you know that tool means you straight away can practice. You need straight away you know how to use it. You need some practice visually. Okay, so the exercise of you drawing now helps. Now I think most of you will be able to spot this. Very clear cut, right? This is the done one. Okay, can you spot what pattern can happen that is still developing? Yes, this is your strong move, right? Okay, now I want you to now visually see this. Okay, this move is an up move. This move is a down move. This move is your third move up. Okay, now depending on whether is it going to terminate here, you can get either a running flat or an expanding flat. Can you see that? Okay, so that is what I meant by you can now forecast and identify pattern before it's formed, because you know that piece can be like that. Okay, so the ability to do that needs your practice. It's not like sit in class, listen, oh, that I know already. Clear? Can see where I'm coming from, right? This is one move, this is one move, this is your third move. So it can end here, continue down, this becomes your running flat. It can continue go up towards this top like that, and then it becomes your expanding flat. Okay, we'll talk about termination points later, but at least now you need to familiar what patterns can fit into a chart. Okay, so this is the part. This one. Okay, this is very clear cut. Okay, I think this one don't need a lot of time. It looks like that. It's basically a flat. Then the next impulse. Okay, now this one is where I want you to draw in your structure, draw in all the patterns you can identify inside. Okay, so there's definitely more than one pattern. Okay, so combine what we have covered so far, structure, draw that in, so that it gives you that clarity of what the overall picture is doing. Second thing is spot all the patterns, pieces that we have covered, which one fits into it. Okay, you should see a lot of patterns happening in this one chart. Okay, but all those patterns can fit into that 5 patterns category that we have covered just now. Yeah. So your answer, the drawing on your chart should look something like that. Okay, I take away the structure to not confuse so many lines. Okay, number 1, can you see double top? Here you should be able to spot that double top. This is your wedge or diagonal. This is also a wedge or a diagonal. Okay, if you are smaller in detail, this becomes your flat, this becomes your flat, this becomes your flat. Okay, this exercise is to give you that practice in visualizing patterns. So when you see a chart, you can see, hey, that one looks familiar. And that pattern is what pattern? So far, okay? Can follow? Also can. Just that I draw it like that. Later I'll talk about it. Okay, now this part here, some of you draw it slightly different. You start from this point, connect down. It's okay. Later, when we move to the next framework, I will talk about why I shortened this over here. Okay, but if you draw this down, you realize that your conclusion of that pattern is still the same. It's moving down but losing momentum.